Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our board meeting. I specifically want to show our superintendent of District 102 that we run on time just like the school board does. So can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amanda, will you call the roll?
Trustee Messick?
Here.
Trustee Rocco?
Here.
Trustee Sheehan?
Here.
Trustee Casera?
Here.
Trustee Lautner is absent. Trustee Zora?
Here.
President DeCipio?
Here.
Quorum is present, sir.
Thank you, Amanda. First on our agenda is a presentation by our superintendent, Dr. Schumacher, for District 102. Dr. Schumacher, it's all yours, and welcome. Thank you.
No, thank you very much for this opportunity to really present to you what we're doing in the district in regards to looking at our finances. Got a bunch of slides that I'm going to click through rather quickly. For information, you can go to the district website, just search Grange School 102, and you can find all this information there. But really for tonight's purpose, really want to go through and get some of the highlights of the referendum that the board recently unanimously passed to put on the November 8th ballot this year. As you know, LaGrange School District is one of the largest feeders into 102. We serve LaGrange Park, the majority of LaGrange Park, LaGrange, and parts of Brookfield. And really excited about the things that have been going on. I'm starting my second year, so it's exciting to see the fruits of the first year and to start kicking off this next year with our new staff and the new students that we have there. Currently, we serve over 447 students in special ed, around 600 students in our TD program, which includes our summer offerings and our after-school offerings, as well as a robust band and orchestra program, athletic program at the middle school or the junior high, as well as a lot of intramural athletics at the elementary school. Ogden School was recognized in spring of 2015 as a Blue Ribbon School, which is a great honor for our district and for this community, looking at the quality of education that's happening here in this community due to the support, certainly of the great teachers that we have, but also the families that are in this district. We see that also through our PTOs and PTCs and the amount of volunteer support that we see in the district here and the great relationships we have with our villages, particularly with LaGrange Park, which is where my office is located, which is nice, even though the GPS always takes 333 Park Road to Ogden School. We have to remind them, no, put LaGrange Park in, and it will bring you straight to my office. So just a GPS note for people. Our students we've seen an increased enrollment since 2006, about 480 students more than we had in 2006. This year, just before I came, tomorrow is our first day of school. We have about 3,035 students K-8, add about another 70 or so within our preschool programs and our early childhood programs and various other programs that we have in the district. We've seen an increase. It's kind of about adding a school the size of Forest Road onto the district since 2006. We also added a kindergarten center, Barnesdale, in 2008. This year we will have over 209 students there, a huge kindergarten class. Don't know what happened 5 years ago, power outages, but they're all coming to school now, and we're excited for the enrollment that's there. What's been happening? Changes in the state. Certainly the city governments, the municipalities have witnessed the same types of restrictions on tax rates and the limiting tax rates that are available to them. The district has decided over the past several years to spend down the reserves that they have in order to keep the programs and keep the things that were in place for the students. So over this year, and you'll see some of the cuts that we've done, we've been able to maintain really good class sizes, certainly at the elementary schools in the low to 20 to 22. This year we're starting to see a little bit higher than that, but we're staying about 22, 23, as well as maintaining just the programs, band, orchestra, Spanish, the various things there. And just changes to the state, funding, the formulas themselves, changes to the local tax rebates that we've seen. 2 years ago, we were hit with some significant rebates totaling over $1 million that we didn't budget for. So right away, you're anticipating the revenue, and then it's not there anymore. So it's created kind of this perfect storm, again, that municipalities are also experiencing, but so are school districts. In November of '95, the district tried to pass a referendum. It did not happen. They came back in '96 and they were able to pass a referendum. That was the last time a limiting tax rate referendum was passed in regards to operating costs. So looking at something really besides just a bond or building structure. In 2001, the bond referendum for capital improvements was, and an increase in the O&M rate occurred. But in '95, '96, that tax rate was expected to last about 5 or 6 years. And now we're 20 years out into that. And so I think there's been a lot of good work that has been done by previous boards to try to ensure that they had fund balances that would weather us through these times which were not so strong. As you're well aware of, the tax caps and the CPI have played a huge role in how we're able to fund things both at the municipality levels but also at the schools. And you can see, looking back at 2004 when the CPI, or the Consumer Price Index, was 3.3, 2007 it was 4, but really for the last couple of years, since 2012, it hasn't been above 2%. As we look at contracts and we look at other types of things that we're paying, certainly a variety of our contracts are settled with floors, but they're usually above the CPI, so we're immediately spending more. So without taxpayer approval, we are allowed to raise 5% or the CPI, whichever is less. And so, as you can see, it has not been above 5% for a decade plus. So the district receives less than 15% of funding from the state. This year we have moved into an alternate formula of funding. So right off the bat, and it's a combination. The papers, tried to explain it to the papers. It's hard for them to understand, hard for really everybody to understand. It's a combination of the EAV, the Equalized Assessed Valuation, and your average daily attendance. Magic formula that the state puts together, and that determines what funding formula you will fall into. So the EAV of this community has continued to rise. Our average daily attendance has maintained about the same. We have 98% attendance, which is really good attendance rate. However, we are below 3,100 students, and because of that and those two numbers, we lost about 1.1 million this year from the state. We've been anticipating it for the last couple of years, but this year it finally, all of the numbers came together and we fell into that alternate formula versus a foundational formula from the state. So again, another challenge for us. When we look at the per pupil spending, you can see it on this chart, but you can see a little better here. We looked at it in conjunction to kind of our neighbors around the area. State average in instructional spending is about 7,400. We're at 7,100 in instructional spending, and that's the cost, the actual cost of educating a child in the classroom. So the direct contact with teachers, support personnel, who's ever in that school working with children, that's that instructional cost. The operational spending really is taking a look at everything involved with the school, aside from capital, your debt service payments. What does it cost to run and operate a school, minus those things? And you can see that LaGrange 102 is at $11,247. Again, below the state average of $12,521. The only other district, feeder district to LT that's lower than that is Western Springs, $6,000 in instructional spending and $9,000 in operational spending. Again, different community, different student population as well. And so, again, it gives you an idea of what our costs are and where we are in relationship to the surrounding neighborhoods. This gives you a little bit of an idea of what our revenue sources are from. And again, you can see this light green in this area here is, the bigger number is local property taxes and other local funding. So as you can see, the majority, about 80% or so, really is coming from local property taxes. And you see that predominantly in Chicago suburbs, particularly in the near suburbs. The Collier County districts are going to see a large amount of their property taxes going towards their revenue. General state aid is this lighter or this darker green color here. You can see that this year will be just over $2 million. Other state funding or other grants that we have that come in here. And then federal funding, which really is generally is our IDEA, which is our Illinois, or the Disabilities Act, so it's our special education funding that flows through the state, flows through LADSI, which is the special ed cooperative, and then comes to us. Again, here's looking at the expenditures. So our expenditures, the bulk of our expenditures in this column, if you kind of look at that and you look at some of the support services, really, that's where about 75 to 80% of our expenditures are going towards education. Those are the teachers, it's the support staff that's helping and supporting the teachers, the paraprofessionals, nurses, social workers, et cetera, that are in there. You can see general administration that's in there. That's going to be principals, it's going to be central office staff. It's hovered around 3 to 4%. increase in 2013 to 5, but has hovered in that area. Again, part of that is due to increased expectations from the state of reporting and accountability that's come from mandates from the state as well. Over the past, since 2010, 6 years or so, there's been some targeted cost cutting that has gone on in the areas of salaries, and this has happened in place generally through attrition. We've been able to have staff that's retired or have left that we've just not replaced them, or we've been able to replace them at a considerably less cost. Purchase services, these are services that are going to be for anything from getting the lawn mowed to shoveling the snow to maybe looking at purchasing with buses for special education, or when we hire teachers from LADSI, the special ed co-op. Those are purchase services. Contingency, we have contingencies in there for increased enrollment from year to year. Tuition is for generally for students that we're outplacing in the area of special ed. So that year in 2011, we were able to reduce that, as well as in 2014. Also in 2011, the teachers had a negotiated agreement, and they agreed to not take as big of an increase for their salaries. And so that decrease in their increase totaled to about $220,000 in FY11, another $220,000 in 12 and 13, but the cumulative effect of that was $220,000, $440,000, and $660,000, so cumulative concessions of $1.3 million. So over the last 6 years, about $3 million in cost cutting has been occurring within the district. We look at our FTE in teachers, and we talked about the increase in enrollment. We've also seen increases in teachers from 2006, 187 teachers, to 2015. We were at 225 teachers, a little bit of a spike there in 2010. Again, all these charts, the really pretty charts, come off the Illinois Interactive Report Card. So for people who really want to delve down and look into all that, you can get all of these charts off of there. You look at teacher salaries. The dark line across the top is the state. This light lime green line is the district average. And as you can see, it really, for the most part, trailed just below the state, really until about 2014, 2015, when it jumped up a little bit. But even then, the state average is 62,000. The district average is 65,000. And again, a lot of that plays on, we have a large group of teachers who are going to be retiring this year and next year. So you're going to see that average come down as we lose some of those teachers who are at the higher end of the salary schedule based on their number of years in this district. And we have a lot of teachers who have 25, 28, 30 years in the district. District pupil administrator ratio. We've got to make some decisions now in order to continue the services. The decision was made for the board to put this referendum on the ballot. It is a $3 million limiting tax rate increase. It impacts the average homeowner about $112 per $100,000 assessed valuation. So multiply that times how much your house is worth. But we also recognize that that's not going to be the end of it. We also need to look at cost containment, and we need to look at how we are spending our money so that we don't end up in the same place quickly again. So how will we do that? Placing that on the referendum to ensure that we can maintain current class sizes, also allow the district to maintain and implement new programs. We have a new era. The class of 2029, high school class of 2029, will start kindergarten tomorrow. And when I talk to the teachers about that and think about, wow, 2029, and how many of you were in kindergarten and even thought that, you wouldn't even be alive in 2029, let alone that, we'd have kids who we're going to be teaching and working on. This technology that's in the room right now, even in 2000 was, much larger if it even existed. So we've got new things we need to be working on our students with. We want to help our district maintain or develop the goals that were created during the 20-plus visioning sessions that we had over last year to look at where we want to take the district and how do we want to move the district forward. These charts, you cannot see, I recognize that. And again, they're available on the website. But what they show are two different projections, a best-case scenario and a worst-case scenario. And the best-case scenario is that if the referendum passes, and we make some of the reductions that are then, we're able to get our fund balances back up, we're able to maintain class sizes, we're able to maintain programmings, and still look at some targeted cost cutting across the board. As we look at kind of the worst case scenario, some of the conversations at the state have included TRS cost shift. TRS is a teacher retirement system. They're looking at how do we move some of those costs from the state of Illinois, move them back to the district. There had been a lot of talk of that last fall, and over the course of the year, it kind of disappeared in June. So the first picture that you saw doesn't have that on there. This one has that on there and also has no referendum. The other thing that's been out there has been a tax freeze. Again, that would impact municipalities as much as it would impact school districts. And so as we're looking at that, this one has a tax freeze, a 2-year tax freeze, and a TRS cost shift, as well as a 7% reduction in non-salary line items. And you can see the red, that you can see from there. So look where red is. You see red all the way across. And you see really by 2019, we're borrowing in order to maintain just operations without any additional cuts. Decrease in expenditures, if we have to do that, if a referendum does not pass, some of the things we're going to be looking at is larger class sizes, reduction in staffing. By increasing our class sizes to 28, we can save 13 teaching positions at the K-6 level. By increasing class sizes to 30, we can save 30 teaching positions. That's significant, but we also know that that's not best practice, but we also have to look at what's there. If we're able to increase class sizes, that would also mean that we might potentially be able to close Barnesdale School and move kindergarten back to their home schools, eliminate programs, delayed implementation of best practice. Just as you don't want to go to a doctor who hasn't kept up on what their best practice is, or a dentist who hasn't kept up on best practice, you don't want to go to a teacher who hasn't kept up on their best practice, on what we know about kids. And we know so much more about how kids learn, how they think, how they operate than we ever knew. And again, I just remind the class of 2029 going through here. And these are examples of what those things cost. 26 teachers if we go to 30. We save about $1 million, $1.3 million, which is an estimate. Looking at returning this period schedule at Park versus the block schedule that's there, we were able to reduce staff by 6 teachers. A variety of different things. This is not the list. It's not an only list. It is just an example of some of the things that we will be looking at over the course of this year as it relates to looking at cost containment and looking at where we can save money. We recognize that property values in LaGrange Park, in LaGrange and Brookfield, and really anywhere where there are good schools, property values are higher. We recognize that, and that's come out in our community sessions that we have of people recognizing that part. The property values in this region have maintained higher property values, certainly in part due to the schools, proximity to Chicago, but there are a lot of places closer to Chicago that don't have the same school systems and therefore don't have the same quality of life and other amenities that this community affords from a school standpoint and a community standpoint. And I'm constantly getting calls of people moving into this community, and they're moving in with school-age children because of the school system. We're seeing houses that are turning over, and we're seeing younger families move in. We have 41 more students this year than we had last year, and I've talked to only 4 of those families, but all 4 of them moved here because of the special ed services that we provide in the district and or the gifted the talent development services that we provide in the district. And of course the fantastic band program and everything else that we offer. The board is committed to providing a forward-thinking educational experience. They're committed to looking forward and not doing the same thing tomorrow as we did today. Our staff is committed to that. We had our back-to-school opening ceremony on Monday and talked about passion and purpose, and the staff is committed to that, looking at that. I go to Ogden School and see what a fresh coat of paint can do on a wall, just one wall, a splash of color, and the teachers are excited, the kids are coming in excited. Wow, this looks like a different place. They've changed the structure of their room. They've taken out desks and they've put in tables and they've put in chairs and they've put in other things for kids to sit in different types of learning environments. Today's kids learn differently, and we need environments that teach them differently, and we need strategies to do that. And the referendum, in part, is looking to provide those opportunities, maintain the things we know are good, and allow us to expand on areas that we know we need to expand in. So that is the presentation. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Dr. Schumacher, thank you, and what an elegant presentation. And if any of the board members have any questions for Dr. Schumacher regarding the referendum. Trustee Rocco?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much. Great presentation. I had one question. There was that chart where you were talking about the different services, the majority going to the teachers' education. There was a section with support services, and that was a kind of a chunk. I was just wondering what the support services were.
So support services can include anything from paraprofessional support, so sort of the extra support around not just the classroom teacher. So that will be also looking at nursing services. It's going to be looking at psychologists, social workers, direct classroom teachers. So it would, the teaching part, the 53% is going to include band directors, it's going to include music teachers, but it's the other types of services that are necessary in a school. Some of them are mandated, particularly when we look at special education. We have to educate and we have to have some of those things there. The other part of that support service would be secretarial support, so needing to have people in the buildings or people in the office to help support all of the paperwork for whether it's special education, whether it's for the title grants, whether it's for just registration within the office. So those are those two numbers that go into that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? You know, you mentioned, Dr. Schumacher, the value, and you know, when people come to LaGrange Park and we talk to these people that are looking to reside in our village, one of the mainstays is the quality of the education they're going to receive. And we are blessed to have a district like 102 providing education to our children, because it makes our environment in our village higher quality and too. And you said passion and purpose, and you certainly exhibited that tonight with your presentation. And you know, I support your venture personally, because I know the value of education and what it means to our community and to our children. So good luck to you and the board. We look forward to communicating down the road.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doctor. Okay, public participation of agenda-related items only. Would anyone care to address the board? Consent agenda, Amanda?
The items on this evening's consent agenda are as follows. A, approval of minutes, Village Board meeting, July 26th, 2016. Work session meeting, August 9th, 2016. B, action, purchase of fire department vehicles computer. Motion to authorize the purchase of 7 mobile data terminals and related mounting equipment from Bright Computers in the amount of $19,008.12. C, action, motion to authorize the president and chairperson of the Finance Committee to sign the register for bills and authorize the treasurer and village clerk to sign checks in the payment of operating bills and salaries as itemized in the check registers. D, action, motion to authorize the village treasurer and village clerk to sign checks in the payment of payroll and other bills that become due between this date and September 27th, 2016, with subsequent approval of the payroll register and voucher register by the Board of Trustees at its regular meeting to be held on September 27th, 2016.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Amanda, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Rocco?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Here. Yes.
Trustee Casera?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Amanda. Moving on, our village manager's report. Julia?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have just one item to report this evening. I just wanted to make sure that folks were aware that the village has received word from the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency that they have reinstated our grant, our Illinois Green Infrastructure Grant funding for our downspout disconnection program. This is the grant that we received from the state of Illinois to help residents offset the costs associated with disconnecting their downspouts from the combined sewer system. So at this time, the village is accepting applications and processing reimbursement requests for any applications that were received by the village back to July 13th, 2015. As a reminder, this program has been suspended since July 1st, 2015, so this is really exciting to have this grant back up and running. So staff has been busy getting the word out to the community, updating the website, making sure that the electronic newsletter includes this information and lets folks know where information is available. Certainly, residents can call Village Hall at our number 354-0225 and ask for Forrest Tucker. He is the project manager of this program with any questions that they may have. Also, the board may recall that back before the grant program was frozen, the village hosted 2 workshops on Saturdays to introduce the program and walk residents through what it takes to disconnect their downspouts on their homes. So there were 2 workshops that were provided. They were fairly well attended. With the grant program being reinstituted, we plan to provide another workshop for residents just to create an awareness and make sure that we're being a helpful resource to residents. And right now, the date that we have on our calendars for this next workshop is Monday evening at 7 p.m. on September 5th. So that's the date that is a Tuesday. I am being told, I am being told it's Tuesday the 6th. Okay, newsflash. Tuesday, September 6th, at 7 o'clock for the workshop. So we will make sure that we get this information out to residents through the electronic newsletter. We'll make sure it's up on the website. We're already making flyers to make sure that we get this information out. I encourage residents to take advantage of this opportunity to help them with the costs associated with disconnection. Our ordinance has been updated so that the new deadline for mandatory disconnection, it's been extended to January 1st, 2019. The funds from the state through this program are available until they're not. So we encourage folks to take advantage of the program for reimbursement while funds are available, and right now they are available. All in all, this is a $416,000 grant. So residents, please get involved, ask the questions, let us help you out, and get those applications in. And go to the website if you have questions. That is all I have to report. Thank you. September 6th.
Thank you, Julia. Okay, moving on to Administration Committee, in the absence of Trustee Lautner, Trustee Sheehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. On Tuesday, August 2nd, the LaGrange Park Police Department, along with village officials, hosted the 3rd annual National Night Out program at Memorial Park Bandshell. National Night Out is an opportunity for residents and law enforcement to gather together in support of crime prevention. Over 300 residents were treated to entertainment by a magician, a canine demonstration by the Cook County Sheriff's Canine Unit, and mascots Sparky the Fire Dog and McGruff the Fire Dog. Prizes, including bicycles, were given out in a free raffle. The police department would like to thank all of those who volunteered their time and or made donations to this event. Save the date, the village's annual e-waste recycling event, which will take place on Saturday, October 15th at the Public Works Facility on Barnesdale Road. Electronics such as TVs, computers, and gaming equipment, along with small household appliances, will be accepted. The village's annual Community Cleanup Day will be held on Thursday, October 20th. Residents will be permitted to dispose of an unlimited amount of refuse, excluding yard waste and brush, for a total of 4 refuse stickers. Community e-briefs, the village would like to encourage residents to stay connected with what happens in LaGrange Park by signing up for community e-briefs, our weekly electronic newsletter that is emailed out each Friday. At this time, the village has nearly 2,000 subscribers. Residents may sign up for e-briefs by going to the homepage of the village's website at www.lagrangepark.org. In regard to the National Night Out, Mr. President, if I may, Chief Rampa and Chief Megas and staff, everybody did a great job. Community spirit was high, and it shows why LaGrange Park is a great place to live, and I thank you for all you guys did. And we can't forget Sergeant Hernandez, too. That is my administrative report, Mr. President.
Well said, Trustee Sheehan, and thank you. Moving on, Building and Zoning Committee, Trustee Zora.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to report on the Building Department activities for July of 2016. 104 building permits were issued in July compared to 105 last July. 43 more permits have been issued so far this calendar year compared to last year. Estimated construction costs for the month, along with permit fees collected for the month, were significantly less than compared to last July. The reason for such is that the large Nazareth permit was issued last July. 156 inspections were conducted in July compared to 191 last July. 7 were not approved. Inspections for the year were down by 58. During the month, we received initial plans for review for the proposed Congregation of St. Joseph property project, which will require a number of village approvals. As such, the village met with representatives from Don Morris to discuss plans for reviewing the project. We also had various correspondence with the architects and engineers throughout the month, including participating in a conference call and web-based meeting. The homes of both 541 North Brainerd and 447th North Spring were demolished during the month. The village issued a permit for a new home for the property on Brainerd and issued the final certificate for occupancy for 523 North Catherine. The position announcement was released in July for the building official deputy building commissioner position. The deadline for applications was extended until August 12th. The village hopes to interview candidates within the next several weeks. And that's all I have to report. Thank you.
And thank you, Trustee Zora. Moving on to engineering capital projects, Trustee Kucera.
And thank you, Mr. President. I have one item to report on this evening. GA Paving was the contractor award of the 2016 road paving project. Due to the timing of school, Brainerd Avenue was the first street where the paving project began, with curb, gutter, and driveway aprons being removed and replaced on the west side of the 400, 500, and 600 blocks of Brainerd. Removal of curb, gutter, and driveway aprons also began on the east side of Brainerd in late July. While the contractor was waiting for curing of the newly poured concrete, curb, gutter, and apron removal also began on the west side of the 400 and 500 blocks of Kensington Avenue. In addition, work was initiated on the spot curb, gutter, and adjacent driveway portions on both sides of the 400 blocks of Stone, Wyola, and Spring Avenues. The repaving of Brainerd Avenue should be completed by mid-August, with final restoration completed sometime in late fall. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
And thank you, Trustee Kucera. Public safety, Trustee Messick.
Thank you, Mr. President. Starting with the police department, summary activities for July of 2016. The total number of crimes reported is slightly higher than last year, with 133 reported by July of 2015 compared to 168 reported through July of this year. Primarily, this is due to an increase in shoplifting and unsecured vehicle burglaries, which in most of these cases have ended in an arrest to those suspects involved, therefore also increasing the total cases cleared for the year to date. The overall police service and assistance activity is slightly lower than last year at this time, with 3,714 incidents reported through July of 2016 as compared to 3,749 reported through July of last year. Traffic compliance and parking ticket enforcement are above last year. As of July 2016, there have been 3,867 total tickets issued, compared to 3,586 as of last year at the same time. Please be aware to purchase your village sticker for this year. As of September of this year, the grace period will be complete, and the police department will be writing citations for non-compliance. All the Grange Park schools will be starting the new school year in August, this week actually. A few friendly reminders. First, the use of your personal cell phone in hand while driving is strictly prohibited and will be enforced. The proper drop-off pickup lines in and around the school zones will be closely monitored for the overall safety of the students, and daily pedestrian vehicle traffic flow, speed adherence to bus stop arms, signage, etc. will also be carefully observed by all the Grange Park police officers, so let's watch out for the kids. One final note, Nazareth football starts Friday night at 7 p.m. There is only one game because the opponent has no JV team, but the police department will be implementing signs and parking restrictions, so single-sided parking and the signs for that. Let's go Nazareth for let's go for 3. And now on to the fire department activities for July of 2016. As EMS responses for the month are 139. There have been 980 year-to-date compared to 1,017 in 2015. Fire rescue incidents this month are 47, and there have been 271 year-to-date compared to 227 last year. Firefighters conducted training at the vacant home at 541 North Brainerd prior to it being demolished, and simulated house fire scenarios were presented to the firefighters to work through. On July 20th, 2 of our personnel participated in emergency management training with senior staff of Plymouth Place in regards to CHUG, the Collaborative Healthcare Urgency Group. Various topics were discussed, such as sheltering in place, building evacuation, resident relocation, and incident command. Personnel participated in 3 Independence Day parades in neighboring villages, and personnel also continued to work on the purchasing of the new ladder truck and ambulance, but meeting with various vendors and conducting evaluations of the demo vehicles. There was several firefighter response to refuse fires and other incidents in the village through the month. That concludes my public safety report, and there are no action items.
Thank you, Trustee Messick. Public Works Committee, Trustee Sheehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Monthly report for July 2016. Brush pickup took place the first full week in July. 109 day shift hours were spent making several passes throughout town, removing approximately 250 yards of brush from the parkway. 123 hours were spent vector cleaning, 60 catch basins, removing approximately 79 tons of debris. Approximately 34 tons of asphalt was used during 129 hours on street repairs, which includes filling potholes and water main excavation asphalt patches. The sweeper spent 84 hours cleaning over 184 village street miles and picked up 54.5 yards of debris. 102 hours were spent on the maintenance of public works equipment and vehicles. 81 hours were spent on building and ground maintenance around the public works facility, village hall, and along 31st Street. 22 hours were spent on tree trimming, work orders, and tree inspections. Work orders were completed with crews removing roadkill, picking up individual brush piles, repairing parkways, and making sign repairs. Various maintenance repairs were done to numerous vehicles. Water department operation, over 267 day shift hours and 57.25 overtime man hours during the month of July were spent on maintenance and repair of sewer and water mains. 34,050,000 gallons of water were purchased from the Brookfield North Riverside Water Commission. 1,266 water meters were read in Section 3. 52 monthly accounts and 36 final meter readings were taken. Various inspections, appointments, and service calls were performed. 15 water, bacterial, and stage 2 quarterly samples were taken, and all samples passed. 151 utility locations were identified prior to excavation. 4 Buffalo box repairs were made. 2 service repairs were made. And that concludes that, and I do have one action item tonight. Okay, so the purpose is staff is seeking the board's approval to increase the amount approved for the 2016 sidewalk and curb gutter replacement project with Globe Construction. At the July 26th meeting, the village approved Globe Construction as the low bidder to a joint bid for sidewalk replacement with the villages of LaGrange and Riverside and authorized $19,500 in spending. In this fiscal year, the village has budgeted $19,500 in the motor fuel tax fund. An additional $15,000 for sidewalk replacement is included in the general fund public works budget and was not included in amount approved at the July 26th meeting. Furthermore, Public Works will use Globe to replace sidewalks damaged during water main repairs. Therefore, staff is requesting village board to approval to increase the authorized amount by $25,000, including the $15,000 budgeted in the general fund and additional $10,000 included in the water fund budget. Staff recommends that the village board increase the authorized amount for sidewalk replacement Globe Construction tonight. Therefore, Mr. President, make a motion to increase the authorized amount for sidewalk replacement with Globe Construction by $25,000, not to exceed the amount of $44,500.
I have a motion.
Second.
Second. Discussion. Trustee Sheehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, it's definitely, again, an older community, aging infrastructure. sidewalks, more people are out walking. You definitely see that they are in some need of repair. And the fact that we were able to piggyback with Riverside and Grange to get the lower pricing, to me, this is a no-brainer. It's a safety issue, and let's have it done and have it done right so nobody gets hurt.
Thank you, Trustee Sheehan. Any other comments from the board? Amanda, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Rocco?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Casera?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
And that concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee Sheehan. Finance Committee, Trustee Rocco.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're 25% through the fiscal year, and these are the highlights. The fiscal year to date of the general fund revenue is at 25% of the annual budget and approximately $73,000 less than last year at this time. Sales tax receipts are about 5% lower than last year. Permit revenue is lower than last year by about $41,000. The difference is mostly due to a very large permit issued in July of 2015. Intergovernmental revenue is 14% lower than last year due to decreased receipts from income tax and personal property replacement tax. A drop in income tax revenue was expected because last year's receipts included a one-time revenue due to federal and state tax legislation. PPRT is down due to adjustments made by the Illinois Department of Revenue following the discovery of an allocation error resulting in overpayments to local governments. PPRT receipts will most likely continue at a decreased level due to the over-allocation adjustment and a $100 million diversion for education included in the state stopgap budget. Charges for services are about $46,000 lower than last year, due primarily to decreased ambulance service fee receipts. Ambulance fee receipts in July 2015 were higher than typical. Fine revenue is about 10% higher than the prior year. Transfers are greater compared to last year due to the new transfer from the motor fuel tax fund to the general fund to support street operations. Total general fund expenditures are within expectations at 20% of the annual budget and about $67,000 higher compared to last year. And that concludes my report, and there's no action items to report. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee Rocco. Commercial Revitalization Committee, Trustee Casera.
And thank you, Mr. President. In August, village staff met with Kathleen Fiodor, the village's TIF counsel, to provide her information on the village's commercial and industrial areas, to review the findings of the TIF feasibility study, and to discuss elements of how to proceed with TIF and business district implementation. Staff also conducted a conference call with S.B. Friedman, our development consultants, and Ms. Orr to discuss next steps in the implementation process, including modifications to the process timeline and incorporation of additional public input into the process. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee Casera. Okay, moving on to other reports. Village Clerk,
I have nothing to report, Mr. President.
our Village Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you can see on your desk in front of you, there is a report called the Police Pension Fund Snapshot. This is a new report that we're intending to include on a quarterly basis to provide the board with a quick overview of where the police pension fund is. And it includes three main components. If you look at the first section, you'll see the fund net position, and at the very right-hand side of the report, you'll see where we are at the end of July, which is about $13.4 million, which, if you look at the chart, you can see that we took quite a dip in around January, but we're a little bit above where we were at this time last year. Below that are two more components that is included in the report. One shows you the investment allocation at the end of July. You'll see that 8% was in cash, 33% was in fixed income, and 59% was in stock and mutual funds. And the third and final component on the right-hand side there is a quick way to see how we've gotten to where we are at year-to-date. The first section there shows you the total additions, which includes the village's contribution, which comes in the form of property tax receipts collected. And then the second component listed there is the employee contributions, which are collected via the payroll withholdings. And the third and final is the net investment income, which you can see we've seen a $450,000 increase since the fiscal year started. The bottom there shows the benefits that have been paid to the pensioners, as well as some administrative costs. And the total change year to date is about $343,000. With that, I'll take any questions.
Any board members have any questions for our village treasurer? Thank you for the update.
I'd also like to remind the board that the September 13th workshop will be a joint meeting with the police pension board to go over the actuarial report with Foster and Foster, the actuary that does the police pension.
Thank you, Larry. Village engineer. Our village attorney.
No report, Mr. President.
Motion to approve committee and collectors reports.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I have one item. As everyone knows, I'm very pleased when I get to introduce or get to mention a community member who has gone above and beyond their bounds and has brought great recognition to the village, and it's always a pleasure to be able to do that here. Tonight I want to just make a couple comments about an individual who I will be bringing forward at our next or future televised meeting because of the importance of it and the value that she brings to our community. When anyone is involved in the military and defends our country and puts her life on the line, as our police and fire officers do every day, but when you serve in the military, you're given to our country, you're given to us, and that should not be minimized at all. But it's with great pleasure that I have the ability to speak about Second Lieutenant Lauren Casera, our trustee's daughter, who is very proud of, that she received the Army of Achievement Medal recently, which is her selfless service that increased the readiness and tactical proficiency of her battalion and section as a whole. It's something I'm going to be proud to do, and I'm sure Dad would like to do it. But it makes us proud because we have a member of our community that is out there in the military providing protection and value to our country and to us as individuals. And Trustee Casera, I know you're very proud of her, and I just want you to know that as a board, I'm sure as a whole, and the staff and our community as a whole, we're just as proud as you. Well, we're proud. I don't know if we can be as proud as you are because you're the dad, but I look forward to having her come to our board meeting so we can recognize her and recognize her service to our country. Would you like to share any comments at this time?
Other than thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, pride is. I'm not sure if there's another word for it. I'm not sure what it is, but we definitely couldn't be prouder of her. She's definitely taken a leadership role in the armed forces, and as you mentioned, I think there's a better arena to serve. One additional piece also is there are many individuals on this board that have served, many other people in LaGrange Park that have served and continue to serve, and I just want to take an opportunity to thank them for all of their service. Thank you, Mr. President.
Trustees Casera, you are a class act, my friend. Good for you. That's all I have. Any new business? Motion to move into executive session?
I make a motion to move into executive session for the purpose to discuss the following: the election of a person to fill a village commission committee according to 5 ILCS 120/2 C3, not to return to open session until 9/13/2016 at 7:30 p.m. for the work session.
Second.
A second, Amanda call. Before we do this, I apologize. We didn't have public participation. Would you care to address the board?
Sure. My son's a Boy Scout, and so he came to our meeting as part of a
Check.
badge requirement. And as part of that, you guys are killing me because I need you to discuss an issue where there's two different points of view represented, and you have a little bit of an argument. So if there's any way you can accomplish that before you go into executive committee, that would be greatly appreciated.
Sure. Cubs versus Sox.
I think we can work with that.
Well, I don't know. Can we put the motion on hold for a second?
We can come back.
Well, maybe
I just had a
Trustee Rocco?
suggestion.
Sure.
I just have a suggestion. The board meetings are on, you can catch them on YouTube on video, and there are, if you want, if there's topics that we have had in the past that there has been discussion and heated, and that unfortunately there's nothing now. But I mean, if there's something for this badge, I sure we can give you a couple of dates that you could direct you to the meetings that you would want to take a look see. But
And also,
oh,
next month will be a busy night, but I'd be willing to meet with you at any time, as any board member would, to discuss our village and politics and anything you want to know that would help you achieve your accomplishment. Okay? Okay, we have a motion and a second. No discussion. Amanda, call the roll.
Trustee Messick.
Yes.
Trustee Rocco.
yes.
Trustee Sheehan.
Yes.
Trustee Casera.
Yes.
Trustee Zora.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
We'll move into executive session.